Hello, everyone. The market structure we're going to talk about today is Monopoly. It's made by me, Tao, Sunny, and Derek. This is our table of content. First of all, we're going to talk about what exactly is Monopoly. Then we're going to move on to the different types of Monopoly. After that, we're going to talk about how the firms will profit maximize. And then we're going to talk about price discrimination. After that, it's going to be regulations, and finally, monopoly versus competitive industries.
So, what is a monopoly? In terms of competition, a monopoly is just a single firm that is dominating the entire market. So, there's no competition within the market. And of course, that means they have the full control over the price of their product. Their barriers of entries are extremely high because there's only one seller. And this also allows for long-term economic profit because no other firm will be able to join and lower the price. And a monopoly will be selling a completely unique product where there's no similar substitutes because they're completely dominating the market. And unfortunately, in economics, it's not the board game where you cheat on your friends.
There are multiple types of monopolies in the market, and today we're going to talk about four of the main ones. First of all, we're going to talk about natural monopoly. Natural monopoly forms when a single firm costs less to produce than multiple firms. It usually is presented when there is a constant downward sloping LRATC. And an example of this kind of monopoly is BC Hydro. Then there is governmental monopoly. Governmental monopoly is created and owned by the government. Usually, at this point, competition is oftenly not desirable, and therefore, it's owned and controlled by the government. An example for this would be the Canadian Postal Office. The next type of monopoly is going to be technological monopoly. This monopoly often occurs when firms hold a method or process needed to produce a specific good or service, usually involving owning patents or specific producing techniques that is kept secret and never told to anyone. The fourth one and the last one is going to be geographic monopoly. Geographic monopoly is a monopoly in a specific geographical area. This usually happens and occurs in an area where certain resources services are scarce or not easily accessible. Also, if there is a key resource that is only produced in one specific place, but is very key in producing the good.
Next, I will talk about profit maximization, price, and quantity. Now, where is the profit maximization point on the monopoly graph? The quantity produced is where MC equals MR, similar to a perfectly competitive firm. However, how do you determine the price is different because it is where you take the quantity produced and take it all the way up until that point meets the demand curve, and that will be the price. You can see on the right-hand graph over here, the point E, that is where the price will be set. And if you look downwards, that's the quantity that will be produced as well. Now, in this graph, you'll notice that marginal revenue is different from demand. Now, why is that the case? Because realistically, if you lower the price for one consumer, then you have to lower the price for all consumers. Now, take the example, we have three students. One of them has $90, another has $80, and the last one has $70. And you're trying to sell them a pen. You set the price of the pen at $90. Only one of them can buy it, but your margin revenue is high at $90. You drop the price to $80. Now the quantity demanded is two people because two people can now afford it. However, your marginal revenue is now dropped to $80 because you're selling both of them the pen at $80 instead of $90. And similar, if you drop the price to $70, you have three people demanding the pen. However, your marginal revenue will now be $70 instead of the original $90. Now, this will increase the producer surplus, but this will also create deadweight loss. As you can see, the deadweight loss previously mentioned is on the right-hand graph over here and labeled DWL. It is below demand and above MR in the gap there. Now I will introduce price discrimination. What is price discrimination? It is the practice of selling the same product at different prices towards different consumers. Now, what happens to the MR, marginal revenue, when monopolies price discriminate? You will see that on the left-hand graph here labeled perfect price discrimination, there is no marginal revenue labeled graph. This is because the MR curve is now equal to demand. Because now if we take the previous example of the three students and you're selling them the pen, you can now sell the pen at $90 towards the person who has $90, 80 for the person who only has $80, and 70 as the person who only has $70. This way, demand will perfectly equal to the MR. Now, does price discrimination make it efficient? Yes, because it is allocatively efficient. Because now technically demand is equal to supply at where quantity produced is and where price is, because the marginal cost in this graph pretty much equals to the supply. The demand slash MR is the demand curve, and where it meets, that's allocatively efficient. And you can see that on the right-hand graph, there is deadweight loss, but on the left-hand graph, there's no longer a deadweight loss. Now, however, all of the surplus goes to the producer and no surplus goes to the consumer. It is still efficient though because there's no more deadweight loss if firms price discriminate.
We've talked about price discrimination being allocatively efficient, but what does that actually mean? And what is efficiency here? Well, there's two types of efficiency. There's allocative and productive. Allocative efficiency refers to the efficiency of the distribution of goods by the firm. And a firm is allocatively efficient when the price or the demand curve crosses the marginal cost curve. For productive efficiency, it is the efficiency of producing the goods. So this involves the firm producing on the production possibility frontier. And under productive efficiency, there's two more types. There's technical and there's X efficiency. Technical efficiency is basically creating the maximum output with minimum input. And that is achieved by producing at on the lowest point on the average total cost curve. For X efficiency, it is a estimated efficiency if the market was more is more competitive. So this is mainly used in the case of imperfect competition, like here with monopolies. And X efficiency is the lowest possible average total cost curve. So there will be two comparisons. There will be one ATC curve that represents the ATC right now. And there's another one that is the lowest possible ATC curve. If the market was more competitive, it will be lower. And the difference of these two curves is X inefficiency. So how inefficient it is to be less competitive. And as you can see here, allocative efficiency is at demand or price, when demand or price crosses the marginal cost curve. So how efficient is a monopoly? A monopoly is neither productively efficient nor allocatively efficient due to a lack of competition. It is productively inefficient because there is a lack of incentive to minimize costs so that they may not be operating at the lowest point on the ATC curve. A monopoly is also allocatively inefficient because they often set prices higher and produces less quantity, which results in dead weight loss.
Regulations. So the first one is price regulation. Government may regulate the monopoly by imposing a price ceiling, which also eliminates dead weight loss. And breaking up a monopoly. In certain cases, the government may decide to break up a monopoly because the firms has become too powerful, though this rarely occurs. And the third one is output regulation. An increase in per unit tax reduces monopoly output and raises monopoly price. The last one is regulation of quality of service. Governments can examine the quality of the service provided by the monopoly. For example, the rail regulator examines the safety record of rail firms to ensure that they don't cut corners. Monopoly versus competitive industries. So monopoly is characterized by single seller. A monopoly exists when there is only one seller or producer in the market, giving the firm control over prices. And price maker, since there are no close substitutes, monopoly has the power to control market price. High barriers to entry. There are barriers to enter the market. Socially inefficient. Without competition, monopoly is likely to become inefficient in their operations, leading to higher costs and lower quantity than would exist in a competitive market. Positive economic profit. The existence of high barriers to entry prevents firms from entering the market. Monopoly with control over price will continue to make positive economic profits. And competitive industries, many sellers. Competitive industries are characterized by the presence of many sellers and buyers, with no individual firm having significant market power. Price taker. Since there are many competitors, the firms will have to take the market price in order to successfully sell their products or service. Easy to enter. The combination of identical products, ease of replication, and low startup costs ensure that there are low or none barriers to entry the market and compete with existing firms. Socially efficient. Competitive markets tend to be both allocatively and productively efficient. They produce at the point where marginal revenue equals to marginal cost and the lowest point on average total cost, maximizing market surplus and no economic profit. So producing at the point where marginal revenue is equal to the lowest point at average total cost. Firms in perfect competition don't earn profit.
Thank you for watching.